Gaur Premananda Hari 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 Bo. Beautiful kirtan. You looked so serene while you were singing it also.
Yeah,
You
because
look,
the verse was talking about the material ocean and the captain of the ship. So I
ah,
chose this one.
Pum Nasandarshida Datra Dustaram Nistitirtaram Kalim Satva Harim Pumsham Karna Vada Ivarnaram. Well, seeing as how the ball is in your home, why don't you and Rasvilas start off our discussion? As I said, we seem to have a choice of two verses. Chandrasekhar said one, Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, 21st verse, and Paki sent out notification for the 22nd verse. So whichever one you might have prepared for or thought about, it's all nectar.
Yeah.
22.
22 probably.
Okay.
Okay. Samna sandirshito dhatra dustaram nishtitirshatam kalim sattva haram pumsam karnadhara ivanavam. Translation. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as the captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of the human being.
Amrita Sundari, I think your voice is faint. It's not activating that you come up in the front
Okay.
of the screen. We want to see you in big form. So I'm going to mute, and maybe you get a little closer and speak a little louder, and then it should bring you up in the front instead of me in the front because I'm not.
Okay. Should I read the purport?
Yeah.
We couldn't hear you, Prabhuji. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, do you see the screen that I'm the big screen and you're the small one?
Yes.
Okay, you should when you speak, you should come up to the front. So maybe because you're
Yeah,
not
that
coming up,
too. Yeah,
maybe you're
got
not
it.
speaking loud enough. Anyway, I'm
Let
going to
me.
mute myself and I hope that I become small and you become big because we are on speaker view.
Okay. Purport. The age of Kali is very dangerous for the human being. Human life is simply meant for self realization. But due to this dangerous age, men have completely forgotten the aim of life. In this age, the lifespan will gradually decrease. People will gradually lose their memory, finer sentiments, strength, and better qualities. A list of the anomalies for this age is given in the 12th canto of this work. And so, this age is very difficult for those who want to utilize this life for self realization. The people are so busy with sense gratification that they completely forgot about self realization. Out of madness, they frankly say that there is no need for self realization because they do not realize that this brief life is but a moment on our great journey towards self realization. The whole system of education is geared to sense gratification, and if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so called education. Learned men, therefore, must be cautious of this age, and if they at all want to cross over the dangerous ocean of Kali, they must follow the footsteps of the sages of Naimisharanya and accept Sri Sutta Goswami or his bona fide representative as the captain of the ship. The ship is the message of Lord Shri Krishna in the shape of Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam.
So I can elaborate. Start with an example. Yesterday we had a half-day kind of workshop with the Science and Spirituality Center of Science and Spirituality in Delhi. IIT Delhi hosts that, and there were devotees from Vrindavan, and there were question answer session. And one of the questions was from participants or audience that is God a fiction? Um, and that is what uh, we live in, right? We live in the age of Kali, and that's where the confusion is among people, and that's where they start questioning the existence of God, Krishna, right, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Kali Yuga means the age of quarrel, and refers to uh, 432,000 years ago. and it began approximately 5100, 5,200 years ago when Maharaj Parikshit departed, and that's where Srimad Bhagavatam started from his listening from Sukdev Goswami. And what is the age of Kali? So age of Kali is known for when there is a predominance of cheating, lying, sleepiness, violence, right? These are all symptoms of age of Kali, fear and poverty. So if we go back in what is, there are four yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali Yuga. And Satya Yuga, everybody was, in the mode of goodness. There was no mode of passion or ignorance. The king drives the whole praja, and then because the king was pious, so praja and then the residents all were pious. They will follow the king. And in Satya Yuga, the age of truth, Sat means truth, Satya, the entire population was religious and self-satisfied. So truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, duration of life, physical strength, and memory will all diminished, or they all diminished with age as the time went on from Satya Yuga to Treta to Dwapar and Kali Yuga. The average span of life is now what people say in 70 to 75 years. So due to the influence of all this, people have degraded and decayed. Their moral has gone down, and these are different symptoms. So all living entities subsist for food grains. And as in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna that verse Ananda Bhavanti Bhutani means all living entities, they subsist on food grains, and all food grains come from rain, and rain comes from sacrifices, pious activities according to prescribed duties, according to dharma. But all we see is in animal slaughterhouses, even in Calcutta, if you see in the temple of Kali, they do this, sacrifices of live animals just to satisfy Kali, Mata Kali. So this is what, because that is not dharma, that is against dharma. And when the age of Kali is, finished, the people will assume the quality of fast is not finished, almost, we are into it. We already start seeing the symptoms, right? People assume the qualities of ashes, and then at the end, the Lord will incarnate. So what can we do? As in this verse says, right? It's like captain of the ship. We need a captain. In this case, in Naimisharanya, Sukdev Goswami is, Sut Goswami, the captain of the ship, right? For in our life, what we can do in the age of Kali, we need Guru Tattva, right? We need a spiritual guru who can guide us through this age of Kali. And thus, despite all sinful qualities of this age, but still Acharyas and even Narad Muni and other, they say that, okay, we are lucky to be in the age of Kali. Why? Because, Satya Yuga, you have to do big meditations, and, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, right? You have to do big havans and homas, right? But in Kali, getting close to the Lord, that the process of self-realization is so simple. You don't have to do all those stuff. The process is so simple. And then Gauranga Mahaprabhu, they made it even, when they came 500 years ago, they made it even simpler. You would just have to chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. And the self-realization, chanting his holy names, as is stated, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nama Kevalam, Kaleo Nasteo, 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 Gatir Anata. Without chanting the name of Hari, there is no Gati, there is no other alternative. And Narad Muni, also glorified the age of Kali as the best of all yugas. So we are lucky to be in Kali. We see all the hypocrisy, all the dualities around us, but we should not get distracted from all these. and we should take advantage of this age of Kali and progress in our spiritual advancement. Hare Krishna. But we are muted.
Example is given as one powerful king can kill innumerable thieves. So the holy name of Krishna is so powerful and so brilliant and so empowered in this age that it can kill innumerable bad qualities within the hearts of the people. So Kale Doshe Nidhe Rajan. It's an ocean of faults, age of Kali, but the one redeeming brilliant quality is that by chanting Hare Krishna and associating with devotees, one can destroy all that inauspicity and roll back the darkness of this particular age. Amrita Sundari, do you want to add anything to your husband's comments at all? Yes? No? Anybody else want to jump in? You can come.
I'm sorry, we were on mute.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that, in Indian homes, you typically find Bhagavad Gita, but without the connection of the spiritual master who is the captain, we cannot cross over this ocean of Kali. So we need to have the grace and service of the spiritual master or his representative. Otherwise, merely possessing the spiritual sound in the form of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is not enough. And that's why the sages are very glad that by providence, by good fortune, Sutta Goswami came in their midst and they're able to hear from him.
I was listening to a talk by Chaitanya Charan this morning, and someone asked the question that scriptures were written a long time ago, so shouldn't scriptures change in order to become more relevant to the current age? Because a lot of things, like for instance in Mano Samhita, seem a little harsh. They seem outdated. So this is what one student asked. What do you think would be the answer to a question like that, Kapil?
In the beginning of our discussions, when we started, we said that this is the absolute truth, and absolute should not change. If it changes, then it's not absolute. That's my answer.
That's what Chaitanya Charan said. He said the scripture should not change, but we understand the relevance of the scripture according to time and place and circumstances. How? Scripture doesn't change, but we do need something to help us navigate because this example is the guru is the captain of the ship, and so you have the human form of life is the ship. You have the Vedic hymns are the favorable breezes, but you still don't know from one minute to another what upheaval there's going to be, because the ocean is changing and unpredictable. And so it's one thing to have the breezes and it's another thing to have the boat. But this verse talks about the extra ingredient that we need in order to deal with today and the issues that come up today.
But the scriptures, Prabhu, scriptures are like difficult to follow in the age of Kali, right? But the process, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made the whole process very simple. We don't need to change scriptures, right? And as long as we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, I don't have to be like well versed in scriptures. I don't have to remember Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita verses. As long as I'm honestly chanting Hare Krishna and I'm following the instruction of Guru, I think that is sufficient in the age of Kali.
That the following the instruction of the Guru is the key point here. Just like in the changing ocean, everything's unpredictable. So you need a captain who is expert in navigating in a practical sense. He's expert in navigating the unpredictable waves of the ocean. It says that if you want to understand scripture, you don't understand everything just from the scriptures. That's what Amrita Sundari was saying. But you need to understand religion, the principles, the active principle, Mahajena Yena Gatapasanta, Tarko Pradishtam Sutyo Bhamaniyam Nishorishir Matir Nabadiyam Mahajeno Yena Gatasapanta. It's the living representative of the scriptures, the personification of the scriptures, who can help us to understand how to adapt the eternal principles of spiritual life to the current age. And that doesn't mean that we change anything in the scriptures, but we see things through the eyes of the spiritual master. He's the one that gives us the proper vision of the circumstances and how to react to those circumstances. Prabhupada's guru told all of his disciples to chant 64 rounds, and Prabhupada took one look at the audience he was dealing with and he said 16 rounds would be more suitable for the audience. In India, you don't have women in the temple, and there are scriptural injunctions to that effect. But Prabhupada said as long as we're in Krishna consciousness, it's just like being sisters and brothers. And so he allowed that, at least in America. So it's just like the captain of the ship. You know, he may give orders to deal with certain waves and certain dangers that may come up, certain unpredictable elements. And we can follow those orders without having a debate or a discussion. We can simply just snap to and follow the orders of the spiritual master because we're experienced. Tat Ganinas Tatpadarshana. He's seen the truth and he knows how to practically apply it in this day and age. Anybody have any more thoughts on this area?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. So, yes, Prabhuji, like as you very well explained, like the guru, he is the spiritual master and the captain of the ship. And if I want to say it in a more simpler way, or in a layman's term like me, so if like I used to be a lecturer, so in the class of 50 students, not everybody was at the same level, and how our teacher did it with us, and how and the same way I followed. So even though I'll be teaching the same subject, and the same with the Rasvilas Prabhu, he's the professor here, so he may not be giving the same kind of instructions and asking every student to go through the same books or same readings, because as a teacher we can understand the level of the student, and the ultimate idea is to make that particular topic understandable to the student, and based on their level we say, okay, you go through this particular approach. Like we all have some shortcut methods for each and every thing. So sometimes we do not give shortcuts to the bright students because we want them to go through everything, and maybe they can come up with their own better way of shortcuts and learning things. So we let them like dive into that ocean and let them swim, learn how to swim. But when we know the student is struggling, we can give them a shortcut method so that they can at least get the gist of that thing. So in the same way, in the spiritual world, and especially in this age of Kali, which is the age of hypocrisy and quarrel, our spiritual master, he is the messenger of the God. He wants our soul to be connected back to Krishna. So he knows what are the drawbacks of this age of Kali, and he knows how those material things can distract us from the path of his spirituality, because he uh, if it's a true guru, he is a realized soul, he has realized everything, so he knows our pain, and he knows the pleasure of this process as well. So if we are stuck, sometimes we all feel that we are not moving forward, we are kind of stuck. So he knows how to like bring us back on the right path, and make us feel motivated to keep doing the right thing in this process. And when Maya, because in Krishna's pastimes we have seen how Indra and Lord Brahma, they were struck by the Maya of Krishna. So if in this age of material, in this age of Kali, of course, we are stuck with so many different mayas and material things. So the true spiritual master, he knows how to come out of it, and he can help us and show us the right path. As we say, Guru is one who takes us from darkness to light. So this age of Kali is the dark age, and the Guru can help us. So if we are surrendering to the right Guru, the right spiritual master, then he can help us navigate just like the captain of the ship. If we have a experienced captain who is a realized person who might have sailed different many times. So he, even though there will be challenges, but he will not lose heart, and he will not give up and think, oh, we are going to die. No, he will fight, and he knows how to deal with all those challenges. In the same way, we just have to surrender to the right spiritual master, and then he can take us back home, back to Godhead.
Very nicely described. Very beautiful description. I like I like I like your saying that the spiritual master, he's done it before. He's familiar with the waters, so he's not going to panic. As the passengers or the neophyte crewmen, especially in the Kali Yuga, we could easily lose it. We could easily lose all of our composure and panic. But it's the calmness. It's the confidence of the spiritual master that inspires us to get a grip on ourselves and not be overwhelmed by the circumstances. Someone said that it doesn't matter how turbulent the water is outside the boat, you're still safe. What you need to worry about is when the water gets inside the boat. So everything can be stormy and in a great upheaval outside the boat. But as long as we listen to the spiritual master, listen to the captain, and take heart from him, and know that if we follow his instructions very strictly, we will be able to navigate safely through the storm to the other side. Very nice comments. And also, I might also carry the analogy a little further that it seems from the verses that the ocean was not as turbulent in the Satya Yuga, in the Treta Yuga, and the Dwapara Yuga as it is in the Kali Yuga age. So the role of the spiritual master himself was different in the other ages. He more or less was teaching the students vast knowledge over a vast period of time. Social conditions were more or less stable. There weren't violent changes. There was, like now we have, practically speaking, every day there are 5 or 6 major news stories that come out, isn't it? It's like, you used to check the news once a week to see what the story was. But now, if you check every 2 hours, you check and there's some new outrageous thing that's going on with the pandemic or with the politicians. So it seems from previous ages that things are much more stable and calm. So the captain was navigating the students and the passengers over a less turbulent seas. But in Kali Yuga, it seems like things are the most difficult and the most dangerous they've ever been. And so it puts special emphasis on the importance of listening to and following the instructions of the captain. He may not be giving such elaborate instructions and detailed instructions as he gave in the past. He may be giving more brief and streamlined instructions. He may be telling you less things to do, but everything that he tells you to do is going to be critical for the safety of the ship and the safe passage of the passengers. A lot of times when devotees would write or ask Prabhupada about various problems, Prabhupada would just say, follow the 4 regular principles and chant 16 rounds. I doubt that a spiritual master in Satya Yuga would have just said those 2 things. I think a spiritual master in Satya Yuga could have told his students to do a whole lot of things because there was stability, there was peace, there was long life. They were all yogis. So he could have given detailed instructions. But in the Kali Yuga, he just says, chant 16 rounds and follow the regular principles. That's our lifeline. We have to stick to those because it is a matter of life or death. And like you said, Rick, if there are people that have more qualities, more capabilities, yes, then there can be more elaborate instructions as well. But the bottom line is chant 16 rounds and follow the regular principles.
Yeah, and in this verse, like 21 and 22, we are reading about like how this age of Kali is, the life is degraded. We have shorter life, and it's hypocrisy and quarrel everywhere. But the benefit of Kali is like as I say, like Kaler dosha nidhe rajan asti hai eko mahan guna kirtanad eva krishnaya mukta sanga pranam param vrajet. So in this age of Kali, we have so many uh, like bad things here, but the best quality here is just by chanting the holy name, we can go back to the Godhead and we can achieve the same thing. Which, if we were in Satyuga, we have to do the pious activities for thousands of years of penance and Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, so many different things. Here it's so simple. Just chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, do the right things, and then you can achieve the same thing. So it's like, as we say, the blessing in disguise. Coronavirus, we have so many negative things, but for some people, it's the blessing in disguise. So same way, it's Kali Yuga, it's the blessing in disguise.
Yeah, the Kali Yuga is celebrated in certain quarters. What do you think, Kapil?
It was very nicely covered by Rakesh Prabhu and Amrita Sundar Mataji and Raslas Prabhu. Prabhu, I just want to take a step back. I think it reminds me of the 10th verse that we discussed a few weeks ago, where it talks about the problem statement of this age. So I'll just read the translation for that verse. It says, "O learned man, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed." So we got to know about the problem and the characteristics of this age. And in this last 4 to 5 verses, we were talking about the remedies through chanting, the process of chanting, the pastimes of Lord, how to relish those pastimes. And now, finally, we have reached to a point where it is like outlined very clearly that who the doctor is. So we got to know the disease, we know the remedies, and now we are talking about the doctor. And as you know, right, there could be same disease, but the way you address or apply the medication differs on the person who's taking the medication. If you are in the young age versus, and the reason I'm using the age analogy, because that goes well with the kind of disease you are dealing with and then the prescription that doctor has for you. The concept of the captain, I also love that concept, because in the modern contemporary world, there are a lot of motivational speakers. They come, and when you are going through so much in your life, the message they give you is, you are the captain of your ship and master of your fate, which could be good for a moment, because that motivation may not last for a longer period of time. The reason I say that is, and the right analogy that we are trying to highlight here is that if you are the captain of your ship, then you are the master of your ill fate. Because the analogy here is that when we talk about the captains, if their goal is to keep their ship preserved, then they won't take it into the waters. But here we are talking about a captain who's willing to help you sail through, and more than sailing through, thrive through this age of Kali. So Prabhupada talks about, like, I really like that connection between that. Prabhupada in the description highlighted the problem, then what are the remedies, and they said even after that you are not getting the point that how to take advantage of it, then this is the doctor who can help you. So that's my understanding.
That was a really, really, really good point. Yeah, fantastic point. Do you want to throw in here, anybody? Vijay, Sundari Priya, you have some comments? Pavana? We're on a roll with some very good insights from Vasvilas, Amrita Sundari, Kapilji.
I just want to speak to the part where he talks about the children being sent to the slaughterhouses of education. And I see that every day. People coming in who are just absolutely lost because they were never given good direction. They never had a good captain to take them the right path. And that is absolutely the point. And then what happens is that we have people who are misinformed or misguided or just plain ignorant going from generation to generation because the parents can't teach their children consciousness and self-realization. So they're lost. There's a lot of lost souls on this planet.
You know, it's like religion itself. I mean, most people, if they converted to a different faith or belief from what they were born in, it's not because of the argument, it's not because of the philosophy, but it's because they met a person. They made a personal connection with someone who's a practitioner, and that person gave them eyes to see the spiritual value of that way of life. So it's always in connection with a person. And so the guru is, not only does he give the guidelines and all for the time, place, and circumstances, but we all need to have the connection with a person to go to the next level. We'll never go to the next level on our own. We didn't get to where we are now on our own. Parents, coaches, teachers, friends, they all inputted to get us to where we are now. And so you need that personal connection in order to get to the next level. And so that's why it is said very importantly, Mahajano Yena Gatasa Panta, the path of religion is enunciated by the great souls.
And in this verse, as Pauna Mataji mentioned, this word, like sending kids to, education, like sending them to slaughterhouses, is very important, because why does mean what happens in slaughterhouses, right? We kill animals there, right? And we kill their soul. So in modern education, what is happening? They are prepared to be robots. And then in the process, what we're doing is we are disconnecting them with their soul. We're just preparing them to be donkey. Just work hard, and just forget about your soul. And once your soul is dead, right, you are dead. And that's where Srila Prabhupada compares this modern education with slaughterhouses.
David Hume, who is one of the greatest educators of all time, he said, you teach not by what you say, but by who you are. So if young people, especially young people who are looking ahead, trying to imagine and envision their futures, if they have the opportunity to meet with someone of a perfect and pure character, someone who themselves has a clear vision for the future and an awakened sense of God consciousness, you won't have to force kids to learn. They'll be eager to learn. They'll be excited about learning. They'll be self-motivated. What is it that Rishabh days? Piti nasa syat devi nasa syat jini nasa jyat namochiyat yasam petramitum. If you're a parent, if you're a political leader, if you're a teacher, and if you can conduct yourself in such a way that the students are inspired, then the result will be that you will deliver them from death.
I had an email from a student day before yesterday. And so, Dr. Goel, sorry, would you accept this homework late? I said, what happened? He said, I am stressed out, I am anxiety. I have 4 times more anxiety than any day I had in my past and whatnot. And this is what, student taking courses, what are we preparing them for, right? Anxiety, stress, and then they go for the work. And this is exactly mentioned in this verse, right? There's no balance. There's no balance in education and scriptures. And Srila Prabhupada is not saying that education is not needed. To survive in material world, we do need education. We do need to prepare engineers and doctors to sustain the society. But there should be a balance between spiritual education and material education, which is missing.
Exactly. I had a young lady in my office in 4th grade. She was in a charter school, and she was sobbing because she was so stressed by the amount of work that was piled on her in 4th grade. It was tragic.
I mean,
Hare
it's so
Krishna.
yes, Prabhu, yes.
No, I can wait. Please. I can wait. You can go ahead. I can wait.
No, Prabhu, just one line I was going to say, this is so prevalent. And when we see as professors, as teachers, when we see these kids, coming to us, it is so disappointing to me as a professor also, that what are we preparing them for? Another kid, she's a PhD student, and she's just alcoholic, and she's in rehabilitation center now, So And there's no reason for her. It's not because of PhD, but because of background, right? What are we preparing these kids for? And the bottom line is there needs to be a balance. There needs to be balance in education. We are definitely missing something here, for sure, in modern education. We are not preparing human beings. We are preparing robots, actually.
And we see that, if you use that analogy of being in a ship in a very stormy sea, what you need to do is get the crew members and the passengers focused on the captain. If they focus on the waves and the winds, they're going to lose it. They're not going to succeed as students. They're not going to succeed in their career. It's a formula for failure and depression and despondency and suicide if they simply focus on the outward circumstance. Maybe in the Satya Yuga age, when everything was in the mode of goodness, you could be, you could get along okay and maintain a healthy psychological profile by looking at the hermitages and the ashrams and the cows in the fields and the birds in the air and the clean rivers and the clean air, and you could maintain some sort of equilibrium. But you cannot focus on what's happening economically, socially, politically, medicinally, ecologically. You cannot be outward turned in this day and age and still be sane. You cannot. And so the analogy is particularly good. If you're in a ship that's in danger of breaking up or overturning in a stormy ocean, all eyes, all ears have to be focused on the captain. He's the only one that can calm them down, give them confidence, give them the skills they need to manage the boat, have safe passage, and at the same time be excited about a very, very wonderful, spiritually God-centered future. So the guru is always there. The guru is always essential, but it just seems to me from our discussion and the things that are current events that focus on the guru is more important. It's never unimportant. It's never unessential. But really, it's the only thing that you have to depend upon in the age of Kali.
I think I should jump in now because if I may, but still I can wait for Sundari Priya Devidasi if she wants to.
Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Because thank you, Mataji. Because the end of my contribution for today's verse is related to sending children to the slaughterhouses. And so it goes like this. Related to this verse 22, my sharing is as follows. If we want to live our lives free from the difficulties present in this age of Kali, and if we do not want to lose all the good qualities offered to us by the most auspicious form of human life, then we need to be obedient to the Holy Scriptures and the spiritual master. Both of them are going to take us to the safest destination, which is self-realization. Without the help of the Scriptures and the spiritual master, it will not be possible to reach such an auspicious destination. Why? Because in this age of Kali, sense gratification is prioritized over self-realization in such a way that even our children are being forced to accept in their valuable lives the current system of education, which is synonym of suicide. These children are to be the next leaders of our human society. What is the gain if the service they have to offer is no better than the service offered by a dead corpse? Hoping that this sharing will give you enough strength to keep moving on the path of self-realization, hand in hand with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, Your humble servant, Vijaya Krishna Das. Hare Krishna.
Very much to the point. Thank you very much. I'm sure that you all have some more thoughts on this subject. We're just getting warmed up here. Anybody further insights?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, or glory to Srila Prabhupada, and all my obeisances to all the assembled devotees here. This is such a critical topic that we are discussing here. Main thing is that the most important word in the verse is the desire. Those who desire to cross the ocean. We, each one of us are in the ocean, but if we don't have the desire to get on the ship, nobody can help us. Even Krishna says, okay, fine, you want to swim, you want to take a life vest, you want to build your own ship, you know, and that's what we have been doing for millions and billions of births. And we are still in that ocean, not realizing that the captain is calling for me. I need to jump on that ship and be with the captain and trust the captain. That because I am a proprietor of doing things myself, that's why I lose out on the ship every birth. You know, and Prabhupada says a very important line here. He says, we don't realize that this life is a very, very brief moment of our great journey. It's a minute moment. It's like by, you know, it's you snap and this life is over. And then the next life starts. But if we don't use that intelligence that we've been given in the human form and keep complaining that I'm not good enough, or I'm not, my memory is lost or whatever, and my karma, blah, blah, blah. If we have all those impediments, we'll always never jump on the ship. And sometimes we may become arrogant and try to build our own ship, but the acharyas who have been through that, who've been the captain of our life, have built those ships for us so that we don't create a Titanic for ourselves. We take Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam as the ship, because without that we cannot really even reach the captain. Captain will only guide those who are in the ship. They can't go to the ocean and keep picking every living entity. There's 8,400,000 of us. And, I just desire, the desire word just struck to me in this particular verse. And, the more we desire, the more we want to listen. And then when we humble down ourselves, then only can we understand that this captain has my good interest, and the fellow passengers, the other Vaishnavas, those are guiding us. They they're all similar minded. They're not wanting to be in the ocean of misery. They want to be saved. So we jump on that ship, and hopefully with the mercy of all the Vaishnavas and Guru and Krishna, we travel safe. At least in this lifetime, we make some progress. So that's my limited understanding, Prabhuji.
And Prahlad Maharaj emphasized also how important it is that the young people learn the difference between the body and the soul as early as possible. If you understand that this life is not all in all, that when you leave this body, you don't die, but rather, instead of being a period at the end of this life, there's a comma. This life is just one chapter in a continuum. So that will create for seeing everything in context, seeing everything in a big picture. If you think this life is all in all, and then you see all the things that threaten the safety and peace and prosperity of these bodies at the current moment, and really we're just seeing things a little more starkly now. Nothing's changed really for the worse. Nothing really changes for the better. We always have the same problems of birth, death, disease, and old age. It's just that we're seeing it a little more starkly now. But the benefit of training young people from an early age is that you can see birth, death, disease, and old age, but you can see it from a larger perspective, that this body is not all in all, that I've got the next life and the next life and the next life, so that, I can invest in this life in character, in integrity. I can not be caught up in the rat race. I can not be distracted by comparing myself and competing with other living beings, but I can simply be happy and comfortable in who God made me to be. I may not be the best father, or the best athlete, or the best politician, but I can be the best father that Krishna made me to be. I can be the best politician if necessary, or teacher or devotee that Krishna made me to be, and make a good example for those people who are in my inner circle. And that has to come as early as possible in life, and it has to come from someone who's of ideal character. As Paki pointed out, we don't own the boat. The boat is awarded to us. It's not for sense gratification. When you're in a boat and there's storm all around, it's complete denial to concern yourself about how comfortable the boat is. You know, if the boat's in danger of breaking up or overturning, you don't go in and change the upholstery in the lounge, you know. You don't try out a new and better recipe. You deal with the issue that's staring you right in the face. It's survival. So if we're going to survive death and take death in our stride, because pandemic and economic upturn and businesses and family comes and goes, but death is definitely certain. Death is not an option. So if we train how to meet death with great graciousness and objectivity and excitement, then we're going to be able to be cool and calm and do the best that we can do with all the various challenges that meet us in this life. And through that coolness and calmness and through that inner peace, we can inspire people with whom we intersect and come into contact with to themselves take up the practice of spiritual life in order to understand, get peace and joy in these troubled times.
I just want to share something that there was an interview by George Harrison's wife, and she was present when his spirit left his body. And she says, it lit up the whole room. And ever if I heard something that validated the soul, that was it. You know, the great soul has moved on. Yeah, it's an amazing interview.
Just by the way, Pavan, there was a GBC steering committee forum with a lot of doctors, including mental health professionals. I think I forwarded you that link. And they want to, they're getting together worldwide to collaborate and make a website and have a frequently asked questions section. And I think it would be of great interest to you. There was one.
I did not receive that link, but I would be happy to.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up. You definitely need to be a part of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Charu Prabhu, if I may, I have a question to ask from Sundari Priya Devidasi. Very quick question. Related to your contribution, Mataji, how is it possible for us to develop the desire to go inside the boat? Please? Do you have an answer?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm still struggling with that in a practical application, but what I've seen other devotees that are really out there, no matter if they want to run the marathon or not, they just get up and do it. And you know, I've seen so many people, I think the desire develops when you continuously keep doing, and then it becomes a part of your second nature. You know, nobody wants to get up early in the morning, but they put an alarm, they somehow jump out of the bed and do the chanting. It's the desire to please Guru and Krishna. And we see when we are low, we tap out for the other devotees to help us out and say, you know, I'm struggling with this. How can you, you know, can I confide into you? And you know, those and then when I am low, I pick up somebody, and then you know, it's a mutual path, and so it's just like swimming in the sea. If you're not able to be strong enough to reach the ship, then hold somebody's hand and say, you know, I want to reach that ship, please take me there. So that's my understanding of this.
So you give all importance to book distribution.
All the 9 processes are important, and whatever inspires us, we do more and more and more of it. Just when I want to say no, I do more of it. I think I get inspired by doing service. Any service is in serving Krishna. It cleans our heart and makes my desire more stronger.
Yes, but I'm asking book distribution in relation to help the ones who are outside of the boat.
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm sure, because if we want to get on a ship, we look at the ship, the picture of the ship. So in our form, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we study that and then we give it to other. Then we create that.
We can rescue them from the ocean.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
I think in Paki's case, of course, she distributes books whenever she gets a chance, but in Sundari Priya's case, she has a deep realization that people are suffering out there. We're all good at putting on a front and making a pretense. Just look at everyone's Facebook pages; they're doing great, aren't they? But I think Paki knows that people are really suffering, and she extends her empathy and her sympathy to everybody she meets. Many of us are so absorbed in our own problems, we don't even see other people. And when we see other people, we might see someone who's obviously suffering, like someone who's crying or exhibiting symptoms of extreme distress. But I think Paki has that gift of knowing that everybody's suffering, even the ones that are so-called happy and smiling. And so she extends herself to everybody with a warmness and a solicitousness. And I think book distribution can't be just seen separate, because then it's just kind of like it becomes mechanistic. But book distribution, excuse me, book distribution has to come from the heart. It has to be a manifestation of our sincere desire to alleviate the suffering from fallen souls. And the best book distributors, they get people's contact information, they make a connection with them as human beings, and try to set in place as many different elements that person then can reconnect with Krishna consciousness and then pursue their spiritual life. So this is just a comment because you asked Paki or Sundari Priya, and so I'm just telling you something, what I know about her from having had her association for many years.
But Prabhu, book distribution is not the only way to help the ones to get inside the book. There are many ways.
Yeah, starting with compassion.
Yes,
nice,
of
soft
course.
heart.
Yes.
Yeah. So education, age of Kali Yuga, compassion, book distribution. Anybody want to make some comments here by way of summarizing before we go to Pavana and her beautiful kirtan to close things out?
Things, Prabhu. I want to just go back to Vijay Krishna Das Prabhu's question about book distribution. And I think the other way to look at it is, if you're doing book distribution, right? So pleasing Vaishnava, pleasing Guru, pleasing devotees, right? Acting according to the instructions is also form of getting the ticket for the boat, right? So as Srila Prabhupada emphasized, distribute my books, distribute, so you're gonna do wonders, right? So that's another way. And then going back to Charu Prabhu's comment about early age devotion among kids, and this goes along with even medical science, right? Building immunity, that's what we're talking about. So if we bring them at early age, we are building their immunity, right? And as they grow up, then they're easily gonna storm through this stormy oceans, right? So it's building immunities, among our kids.
I think just as a comment, I think one of our most powerful, and I don't mean in terms of overwhelming, but one of our most effective and attractive preachers in the whole world is our own Radhika Raman. And look at his background. He was homeschooled by his mother, who's a devotee. But not only was he homeschooled, everything he learned was from the Srimad Bhagavatam. She taught him to read and write. She taught him about the world. She taught him about physical reality, the phenomenal world, the world of the mind. Everything he learned from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And just look at him. I mean, he meets all the criterion that we're talking about for a captain, a clear thinking, clear headed, cool and calm person who sees the big perspective. He may not be a Diksha Guru, but he's certainly a Shiksha Guru for the whole world. And it all came from childhood when his mother nurtured him in that way.
And you haven't seen his kids, Prabhu. We have seen. I mean, each one of is 9 years and 11. Both of can give Bhagavatam class now independently for 1 hour. They're so versed right now, because they're taught by him and Mataji. They're wonderful. They are in Provo, by the way. I mentioned to you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, are they going to be in Provo for weeks and we're not going to get any benefit of their association?
Until December. The only challenge, Prabhuji, he has chronic asthma problem. So that's why he's very careful.
Okay. But he could come. You can tell him, just let us know what Sunday in Spanish Fork or what Saturday in Salt Lake City. We'll clear the decks for him.
Yeah, one question. I'm not glorifying him. I mean, of course, I would love to glorify him always, but on a neutral ground, in 2019 Sadhu Sanga, Vaisesika Prabhu and Vaisesika Maharaj, he was giving Bhagavatam class in the morning. And then one of the and Bhagavatam class was exactly about this topic. How do we engage as Grihastha? What can we do to progress in our devotional life? That was the whole Bhagavatam class about. And then there was question and answer session, and one Mataji asked, okay, Prabhu, in Grihastha life, what do we do? How do we progress? And Vaisesika Prabhu's answer was straight. Ask Radhika Raman Prabhu. There were 2,000 devotees. There were 65 Srila Prabhupada's disciples sitting there. There were 12 or 10 to 12 different Maharaj. In front of them, he says, ask Radhika Raman Prabhu. He is the living Bhagavatam. That's what he said.
I agree. And even our kids, even your kids, Rasvilas, your kids, Kapil, Rakesh, your kids. I mean, even though they didn't get the systematic like Radhika Raman did, at the same time, there's so much promise there. They have so much potential, and we see some of that potential coming out. Like Ishan, he's probably started coming to the temple when he was just a toddler, but now he's become a young man, and he's very confident. He leads kirtan. He gives classes with complete confidence. Krishnam also. I mean, just look at what kind of a young man he's coming. So you can see, I don't have to convince anybody, especially those of you who have seen it in your own children, the benefit of planting those seeds at a young age.
And I don't know if you heard Rakesh Prabhu's daughter, Prabhu name, Subhi, Damodar Ashtakam. I mean, that is the best Damodar Ashtakam or harmonium I have ever heard. I'm not exaggerating. It's true.
I listen to that Damodar Ashtakam every day in the evening, Prabhuji. And yesterday I asked her how she learned, and she said she is right here, and she learned on her own Damodar, how to play and sing. We are so fortunate to have her sing Damodar Ashtakam every night.
Yeah, so for the timing, she's my guru, actually. I mean, I'm going to learn from her. Whatever dakshina she wants, I will give her.
We don't take Prabhuji's ship. We don't take. I was saying that don't take Prabhuji's ship to Bahamas.
No, I think that's a perfect example of the right guru. So Guru John Malik, he taught her the music so well, and we have taken a break because of COVID, but he has taught her the sur and the basics of the music so well that she just listens to any kirtan or any song, and she doesn't have to search for any notes or anything on YouTube. She just listens it, and then she just figures out on her own.
but it's the base that the Guruji has taught her so well. So that's the perfect example. If we have the right captain of the ship, then the ship will sail in the right direction.
Guruji, Guruji is great, Prabhu, but he tried to teach me also 3 years back, and you see what I am, right? So, so it depends upon who is learning.
So he has prayed for a few months.
By the way, one new development, Prabhu, yesterday Rakesh Prabhu's and family, they cooked the whole prasadam, boga, yesterday evening. Hari Bol. Yeah.
Hari Bo. I saw Govinda Dev's presentation, very powerful and very heartfelt and very convincing. And I was told by Sundari Priya that people were paying keen attention. And I know that Amrita Sundari also, because of her vast learning and sincerity, will be successful in communicating people next week. So I'm very, very glad that we're being, as effective as we can, considering the limited amount of interest in communicating to people how to keep the boat seaworthy and how to keep it afloat in these difficult times. Whereas most of what young people learn and most of what education emphasizes is not at all the seaworthiness of the boat, not at all the ability of the boat to cross the ocean of birth and death, but just modern education is just how to make the boat as comfortable as possible while it's sinking.
The best part, Prabhu, in his presentation, overall presentation was well compact, but the best point was the blend between Jesus Christ, teachings versus, Krishna consciousness. And I'm pretty sure that if he gives that presentation at any LDS church, they're going to appreciate it. It was such a nice blend.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love the story he said about that German and the English soldier making the trenches and how they sang the Silent Night, and he connected that with Krishna consciousness. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, when he was singing, there were about 20-25 people in the temple room. It was throughout the presentation, it was pin drop silence. But during that 30 seconds, you can hear people the way they were breathing. It was that serene.
Yeah, the lecture last night, it was really very good.
Prabhuji's wife also came in and she was really proud of him. She was really nodding and she was, yeah, George, my husband.
I told him that when
I understood after that. Kapil Prabhu, I wanted to say, I understood after his presentation that why the best came out of him, because Mataji was in front of him.
Prabhu, I told him that, Prabhu, when you are at the podium, you are looking at least 20 years younger. And he said, oh, wow, I should do more often then.
I'm definitely in favor of him speaking more often. And he's not here now. So please do take the opportunity of giving those same comments to him personally, because I'm sure that will inspire him in the future, and we'll do our part to give more opportunities to all those who have deep realization and the ability to communicate those and share them. So everybody communicated really well today. I like the fact that it wasn't so formal. We didn't necessarily have one person have their say and another person have their say and another. It was more like people just jumped in, and I thought it was more organic. It flowed more, and I feel that you actually got a chance to express yourselves more in a spontaneous way. And so moving forward, I would like to capture that, just feel that you can jump in with a personal realization and add to and amplify the subject that we're discussing at the moment.
Just one comment for Kapil Prabhu. Prabhu, I don't want to go to Bahamas, New Zealand, because they have hot geysers, nice hot geysers there. Madhava Prabhu told me, that's why.
Prabhu, point noted.
Pavana Mataji, I will definitely send you that link of the worldwide doctors and psychologists that are gathering to restore the planet to mental health so that you can play an important part in that. In the meantime, would you like to terminate this session by leading us in kirtan?
And if you want experimental subject, Mataji, you have in me.
If you want to take the person that's riddled with the most neuroses and anxieties and problems as your, your ultimate subject matter of research, you have a volunteer there in the form of Ras Vilas Prabhu, who is, by the way, a university professor.
You really don't want your students to look at this recording.
This is public, on Facebook.
Okay.
Management.
Here we go. Hare Krishna, Krishna
Thank you, Pavana. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
As was the opening kirtan by Amrita Sundari. And thank you, every one of you, for contributing in a major, insightful way to the discussion. We'll look forward to being with you again next week when we do the 23rd verse in the first chapter, the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the meantime, thank you once again. I feel so honored to be able to gather with you and spend this hour plus in the most profitable, elevating, purifying, spiritual way imaginable. Appreciate your coming on board. Until we meet again, don't forget to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakaupatarubhyasya, Kripasinubhyasya, Patitanam, Vaishnave, Vyo.